Talking Tuesday. It's what we do. We just sit around, smoke a pound, and talk about what we do. In the cannabis world, we gon' let you know how the business go on a brand new show. Talking Tuesday. Show you how to do it right.
Yo, welcome to Token Tuesday, where you have real cannabis players talking about real cannabis issues. And we're going to get down and dirty today. We're going to talk about the cannabis industry in a real way. I have Marco to my left and Ruby, I'm sorry, to my right, the other left, the other right. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what it is. I got Marco to my right, Ruby to my right, and then our guest tonight, who has blessed us with her presence. We have Mickey McKenna in the house. She is
welcome.
A former social equity applicant, still a social equity applicant. That for y'all that don't know, that never goes away. You are always a social equity applicant once qualified. A lot of people don't know that, but true. Once qualified, always a qualified applicant. So we're going to get right on into it. Before we do, hey, y'all got to check out the new Token Toss. The new Toke and Toss right here. 1 grammer in the house. And then we also had a special 2 grammer, but the special 2 grammers on holidays only. And then, of course, we got the famous icicles. You know, we got the foreign product, everything in the house. So we're going to jump right on into it. Marco, how you feeling today?
Man, I'm feeling good, brother. I'm feeling good. You know what I'm saying? It's a good day. You know what I'm saying? A little tired, you know, because, the holidays got me busy, but I'm feeling good, though.
Right on. Ruby,
brother.
how we doing?
We're doing good. I started my shopping a little early.
Okay.
Don't want to leave it for last minute. Enjoying the cold weather.
Well, look at that. Already in the holiday spirit.
Yes.
So, Mickey, talk to us. What's going on, my friend?
I'm well.
That's good. That's good. So we're going to get right on into today. We're going to talk about social equity. We left off with that sort of last week, and we're going to jump right into it this week. Social equity has been something in the city that was supposed to be a blessing to those who were negatively impacted by the failed war on drugs, who grew up in those communities, who were impacted by those communities, who still reside in those same communities to this day, and were harmed in some form or fashion by the failed war on drugs, be it economical impact, be it redlining, be it a former person incarcerated or a family member close to you that's been incarcerated, maybe a wife or a husband or even a fiance, male or female, who's been incarcerated, and it just impacted your family unit. We can all speak to that in some form or fashion here on this panel, of being in that position at some point in time.
Yep.
But for those who really aren't familiar with the social equity program, the social equity program was introduced in 2017, voted on unanimously by LA City Council. And this program was to help people who had cannabis felonies or felonies, period, drug felonies, to be able to be owners and operators in the cannabis industry. So if you had a felony or a misdemeanor, it would not exclude you from being an owner and operator. Now, prior to 2017, if you had a conviction, you couldn't even work there. You couldn't dump trash. You couldn't sweep the lot.
No.
You couldn't do none of that.
Premises.
So that person who was on the block and who kept the block popping and hot, who kept the hood cracking, you know what I'm saying, and the customers happy with the Crondon, the Chronic, the Bomb Diggity, all of the things that we called it back then, the Dank, you know what I'm saying? So, hey, those people who actually kept this industry going before it was a true industry
Mm-hmm.
would have not been able to participate in the cannabis industry. So social equity was that program to bring that alive. So you would, submit to the city of Los Angeles, and you would either be qualified due to certain parameters, certain guidelines, one being a felony or a misdemeanor, that would qualify you in the social equity program. So we have our guest here today who has been or is a qualified social equity applicant in person. But as good as what I'm telling you sounds, there are some horror stories and a lot of them out there. And Marco can bear witness to him personally being one of them.
Yep.
Ruby being one of them, and Mickey being one of them. Unfortunately, I didn't really get to partake in the program that, guess what, I created for the city of LA, which was the social equity program. But hey, it was for those that I felt were negatively impacted. Not that I wasn't, but I already had my 3 shops. So, I guess you could say I was good, but I wanted to make sure everybody else was good. It just wasn't about me. So, Mickey, we're going to get you right on in the mix and tell us what brought you to the industry.
I want to comment on something you said about qualifications, because I think I was here before the qualifications were written.
Yes, you were.
What brought me to the industry was I suffered from a brain injury. Myself and, at the time, my 15-year-old son. And my neurologist suggested that I try cannabis.
You're a neurologist.
Yeah, he said you should try. Have you ever tried something to
You see that?
circumvent some of the experiences I was having as a result of the trauma? Then my son was injured, and he was suffering from things, psychosis and other things, and was being treated. And I was partaking, and he started sneaking. You've met him, Moses.
We all know that. Sneak and get yours.
Oh, yeah, that's how it starts.
And I could see it changed his disposition. He had less suicidal ideations and other things as a result of the brain injury. I could see mentally, socially, emotionally that cannabis was a stabilizer as opposed to antidepressants, psychotropics, which is a part of my field as a social worker as well. So,
y'all thought I just brought a common ear on the show, didn't you?
So it was obviously in secret, because having worked in systems, social welfare, probation, juvenile detention, I knew the consequences of my son and intoxicants. And he actually had an experience where dogs were brought onto his school campus when he was finally returned after his injury to school. Dogs were brought on the campus, and he was threatened with arrest and was ticketed and et cetera.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of just provoked a kind of interest in me. I started hearing, on KBLA about social equity in this budding program, and we were at the phase of just 216 legalization. Started seeing, your face and Donnie's face and other people popping up, and I said, let me be a part of that. Let me see what they're doing. So in my field, when new and innovative practices are brought to the city, oftentimes the developmental process, the writing of the regulations, the public opinion, the influence of political leaders and community members, I wanted to be a part of that process. So I began to read the regs. And then the regs were very scratchy. They were I think they were 14 pages. I still have my original copy of the first set of regs.
Yes, the first set of regs were really a skeleton.
It was a skeleton. The war on drugs not only impacted men of color, removed them from cities and communities like where we're from, Compton and Watts, But it also separated women from, resource like education, training. They were subjugated to welfare and redlined to the projects. Their kids were targeted. The first targeting of drug use, cannabis use, it began in schools, middle schools and high schools. So you very much like, gang affiliations. You got a tag on you, and that's what happened to me very young. I got exposed. I got in some situation that I won't go into, and I was accused of being a dealer and a user. And then war on drugs, cannabis was no different from meth, injectable, or anything else. I was actually referred to as a drug addict.
Wow.
So I was removed from my city, Compton and Watts, everything I knew, and I was told that place there is bad. That's where all the bad people are, and you need to be separated because we need to save your life. We need to rehabilitate you. So I ended up in detention, juvenile halls, and then ultimately foster homes, and then ended up in group facility. And the difference from a felon who
Big
serves
difference.
real time. But when you don't have constitutional rights, when you're a young adult, there's no parole, there's no vote, there's no going before the judge and having an opinion. I was rude, incorrigible, and it was determined that my community was not a fit for me. So I was no longer allowed to return back to everything I knew. So I couldn't go within a 30-mile radius of Compton or Watts.
Wow, that's insane.
So,
I'd like
very
to
big
just
radius.
pause there for a minute and just kind of let that sink into the audience, because that's what they do. So just what you said, soon as you get up, and let's pivot to someone who just got out of prison. If they're gang affiliated, they can't go back, so-called, to the neighborhood that they are from, 9 times out of 10, which is the block they grew up on. Although that gang is in that neighborhood, you have no control over that. But now you can't go back home. You have to parole somewhere else. Like you said, not in your community, but in some other community that you're unfamiliar with. And then you are stripped away of your community. Your, as they say, it take a village. You're stripped away from your village. And you don't have that support system that you need right there in the comfort of your own community, neighborhood, and home. That is really something that we don't talk about a lot when stuff like that happens, because you think about it. You grew up in this house since you was a kid, all the way until you a teen, or at least a young teen, and then you're taken away from that and being told you can't go back to that based on some rules and circumstances that you didn't even create, that they created. That's crazy.
So when we talk about qualifications and the regs at the time, especially as it relates to social equity, you guys were having your celebrations and your bottle popping and 2016 legalization.
That we were.
And I was square focused on social equity.
Yes.
And there were components of social equity that I thought were, first of all, that the fact that it was in effect a social welfare program, was in effect a reparations, kind of reparative justice.
Yes.
Form to address the war on drugs. It was of interest to me. And as I've
Which
always,
is how it started out.
that's all the language we were communicating
Exactly.
with at the time.
And the whole, I guess you would say, the spirit of social equity was exactly what you said.
Like, I remember the very first meeting, the first time I met you at CMA was at the Watts.
Yes.
Around the corner from where I grew up.
Yeah, on Central.
Yes. And
Yeah,
we
that was
had
at
that,
Ted Watkins, WLCAC back in the
That's
day,
right.
where Ted Watkins, and now they have the museum over there.
Oh, really? And they did the presentation of social equity and the zip codes and all those things. So talking about scant So then I said, here's a unique opportunity. I've been a part of a lot of movements in LA where people of color are at the foremost informing, leaders and other things about what's going on ground level. And that's what I was hearing for the first time. I was hearing my people. I was hearing their voice, plain and simple. And then I was seeing it iterated in policy, written in policy.
So let me just make a note so you young kids out there understand. So we just talked about over there on Central at the Watts. It's actually a Watts Museum over there across the street is, what is that? She's a congresswoman. Who is that? Yvonne.
Bert.
Exactly. And right across the street is the Watkins family. Ted Watkins, Tim Watkins now runs it. Ted Watkins was a very, very prolific man in the community that helped the community. So for you young kids out there, and especially the ones that love to watch these young sports players, Juju Watkins, y'all know the name. She's a lead shooter at SC. That is Ted Watkins' granddaughter. So she has deep roots in the LA community by her family being with the WLCAC. And I gotta just plug this. The WLCAC took a lot of people when they came out of prison and gave them jobs immediately.
Wow.
And put them to work in the Watts community and Compton community. Knew Ted, my dad knew Ted Watkins, and that man did a lot for the Watts community. Just wanted to say that, and just to make that connection with Juju Watkins, because a lot of people don't know that's Ted's and Tim's. That's his great granddaughter. That would be his great granddaughter, which would be Ted's granddaughter. I believe. I mean Tim's granddaughter, if I got it correctly. But she's from that lineage.
Got you.
So the war on drugs is a spinoff from the war against black liberation. Right. And rest in peace to Nikki Giovanni.
Absolutely.
Passed away today.
Absolutely.
Black love is black power, and she says. And that's what I saw when I saw all of my people like celebrating their grind and their hustle and standing at the forefront. I'm most attracted to my own people, especially coming out of my own city.
Right on.
So when I saw them repping, I was like, whatever they doing, I'm doing.
That's right.
And then when the language started playing out more substantively about the purpose of social equity, there wasn't a fit for me at the time, and you and I we would go back and forth about that, who's in the pecking order, and there was always a deference to those incarcerated, because there are many times that there's not an opportunity for freedom in that space.
Absolutely.
Where I always had an opportunity, I always could look forward to being released. And so there was a deference there, but I did see a lack of regard for the impact on the black family, which was now headed by the black woman. And we had conversations about, this is not a welfare program. This is not about black people.
That's what I said. Now, hey, y'all know me very
now
well.
I get to call him out.
Yeah, she sure can, because that's what I used to say. Yeah. See, one thing
I still say
it. I'm about opportunity, but I'm not about a welfare program, because the problem is I understand what welfare has done to us for so many years, and I never wanted this to become that welfare program. Yeah. So me, and I'll just take me. I like to use me as an example because I don't want to point somebody else out. So I use me as an example. I went down once. I went down twice. I went down 3 times. A lot of people don't know that. I did 2 state bids and 1 Fed bid, right? And doing 2 state bids and Fed bid, I failed both times. Got back up, got out with nothing. Pick myself up, dust myself off. I didn't ask the government to give me a damn thing. I just wanted an opportunity that I could see for myself, that I could make good for myself, right? And because I've always been that self-motivated person, never wanted the system to hold me back, tell me what I could and can't do, and carrying that mentality and that attitude, I don't need no welfare. The thing I used to say right before I was about to be released from prison, I said, all I need is that gate to open up. I don't need nothing else. Just open that gate up and let me out. Soon as they let me out, it is on, right? And that was my mentality. That is the mentality that we should possess every day of our life. When God give you breath and them 2 feet hit the ground, you should be saying, once again, it's on, and I'm about to get mine, right? And so I've always had that go-get-it attitude, and I wanted to really share that go-get-it attitude with my people to say, we ain't looking for no welfare. We ain't looking for no handout.
Yeah.
All we looking for is an opportunity to get in, and we gonna show you what we can do.
Yeah.
All you got to do is give me a little space, a little room, and you ain't got to give it to me. Just show me where it's at. Matter of fact, you ain't even got to show me where it's at. I'm gonna go find it.
Yeah.
So with that very direct and aggressive mentality about lifting myself up, lifting us up. That was why I always said this ain't no welfare program.
And I say it, and I said it when I was with Kika Keith and Gorilla RX, because I helped launch Gorilla RX. I had a lot to do with, my hands were very involved with Gorilla RX. You know that, brother.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, so at the end of the day, I stand for mine. I stand on my business, and I will always say that, because where I come from and what I do, I never had no handouts either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we've been doing this weed shit since 2003. I've been running stores since
man.
03.
Talk to me.
And I've been doing my thing, making my money. And at the end of the day, we got it from the mud. And the minute I got into this social equity shit, I didn't see people with the same mentality. I didn't see go-getters.
Nah.
I'm sorry to say it. I saw people who just got given something, but they never were hustlers in the first place. And you could fault me, look at me bad all you want to, whoever wants to do
that's
that.
real talk.
But it's the goddamn truth. At the end of the day, it wasn't the hustlers who got the damn licenses.
No,
that's why I have a personal agenda against that.
Exactly.
Because a person like me who been putting in work, heavy, been influential. Yeah, I might not be from the South LA side. I'm from the Valley 818 all day. I rep my shit heavy. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I did my thing as one of the very few black people. I was one of the only handful of black people in my community. I mean, I came from a community full of black people, but as one of the only black people in my community, I held my shit down.
Yeah, no
with
doubt.
no handouts, you know?
exactly.
And anywhere I go, that's the number one thing I preach. Because today I'm still better off than the people who got licenses, and back then I was better off. But it really just came down to the hustle and the grit.
Exactly.
This handoff shit, which goes back to like the welfare stuff, I don't come from that. I don't know what that is. You know, my family, we came out here, we Panamanian and Colombian. We came out here, we grinded. You know, we ain't rich, but we didn't ask for nothing. We work our asses off. You could call us like the Jamaicans and the Mexicans. They'd be like, you got 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs. Hell, motherfucking yeah. Before anybody give me some shit, I'm gonna give me some shit.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
That's
I
right.
want to point
Like,
something out, though.
Huh?
I want to point something out.
Yeah, no,
Our
absolutely.
Our country is built on subsidies.
Huh?
Our country is built on subsidies.
It is.
And in fact, social equity became a social welfare program because it had to support the deficiencies in the prospective applicant who would fall short of maybe someone with more resource, right?
Yeah, and here's a crazy.
Exactly.
So then, in effect, it becomes what I see as a subsidy of some kind. So
Absolutely.
while his language it did make me comfortable, but what it made me do was dig deeper, because that's what I would do. I would do with someone's philosophy. So I made welfare a study. Like, how was I raised on welfare, having been institutionalized so young, and then taught that my community was not worthy, and that if I wanted good and better, I needed to separate myself. Then began to produce children, which was the expectation, right? Because I needed to produce a head count. We're seeing something similar now with the end of Roe versus Wade, is that women now will become subjugated and will have no choice but to rely on subsidies.
Absolutely.
Even today, I still have to. So
I agree with that 100%. And the reason why I do agree with what she's saying is because when you come into this country now, they give you a fat check. You know what I'm saying?
You're
And
automatically
they
eligible
give
for
you
Medi-Cal.
this. They give you health care.
They're trying to give you
They give
property
you
for crying
Medicare,
out loud.
Medi-Cal, Medicaid, whatever you can get. They give you all of that. So I get what you're saying. And people come here because they know they're going to be given something soon as they hit the mat, right?
And they're very much like social equity. What we saw was that people could go through the process in a way and get resourced in a way that could sustain them through the toughest times that I couldn't survive. I wasn't given the skill set to survive. Virgil couldn't even have given that to me because the process was even new to him. So there was an expectation that all of these experts around me, knowledgeable people in the field, would be able to usher me in through the process, realizing later that they were also a part of the process too. And were also being disenfranchised, even though they were at the forefront. That as the rules began to become drafted, very much like the war on drugs, they were being drafted around us like redlining.
Instead of for us, around us.
Yeah. I could give you an example, a specific example of that.
Exactly, and you will in a minute. So let me just kind of put this into context. The spirit of social equity and what the city of Los Angeles was supposed to produce, right? And what the skeleton framework, had they put the meat and bones on there properly, what it would have done is totally different, is what Mickey is saying, than what it was intended to do. Because when I tell you I didn't create social equity for the do-gooder, I didn't create social equity for the person who had it easy in life. I didn't create social equity for the person who, was living large and high on the hog. I created social equity for the cat that was in the hood, that was struggling and scuffling and scratching and trying to make it, for the woman who man may have went to prison because he was out trying to get it for his family, and then now she left to struggle. See, and I understand that because I have a family member that basically brought their kids up in the welfare system and used that welfare system till their kids was damn near grown. So I get and understand that. Now, did they really need the welfare system? Not really. But did they use the welfare system for what they could use them for? Yeah. But what did that do for that individual present day? It held them back with that mentality. Why? Because the welfare system back then was going to cut you a $200-300 check every month for each kid. You see what I'm saying? And that's where you're going to stay. Ain't no pay raise. Ain't no increase. And when inflation happens, sorry about your luck. Yeah. What you get is what you got. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
There was also a pathway to become educated, and I saw that. I went to law school. I have a graduate in social work. No one prepared me for the debt and the responsibility that off of welfare I was also building debt. That's a catch. Yeah. So
and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because the individual I'm talking about went and got their education off of the welfare system as well. So if you choose, like you did, like that person in my family did, choose to take that route, that's the route you're going to go. But the percentage of those individual women that have taken that route was far few and in between. The other ones got very comfortable collecting that check and not really having to do nothing for it but have babies for the welfare, right? And so you then took that individual and then got them very comfortable with a meager portion of what the county or the state or the city or whoever gave it, the state, gave that check. And that's where that person stayed. And each year that went by, they stayed right where they were. To me, that is a systematic, to me, first of all, systematic slavery. It's being controlled by the check that you're gonna get based on the baby that you had, right? And so that's how I always view. I would love to view the welfare system in a manner that it is positive for someone who is not doing the greatest and need assistance to lift themselves up and go far. But I didn't see that much, to be honest
It's not
with you.
built like that.
Well, here's the other thing: the people aren't built like that either. Because just being as involved as I am in this game, as people know my face, I do what I do. I move heavy. So at the end of the day, I know too many people, and I see how they move. They're just out. They're in it for themselves. If social equity wanted to work, it needed to be a unified group.
Yeah.
If social equity wanted to work, everybody needed to work together. That was from social equity. All social equity does is each individual wants their own face to shine. They want their own popularity. They want their own everything. And then they just sail off on a little island all by themselves with no help. And then the help that they get are people who are just going to rape them and use them.
Exactly.
But nobody's working together. I've tried to bring people together.
Now,
and they don't want to come together.
And I like what you said on that, because had everybody came together in the social equity program, a lot of the problems and issues that
At least you have each
social
other.
equity was facing
At least you have each other.
would not have, but we would have stood together and corrected those problems and not let those problems continue.
But some
to
of us, the minute you
exist,
hang a little,
right,
a little dangle something.
like Mickey said, when L.A. City Council, and I have to fault myself as well as the people in the industry, when L.A. City Council voted unanimously to approve a social equity program, everybody did this right here, pop bottles like Mickey said, champagne, and said yay, yay, yay. But guess what? The work wasn't even close to even being done. And we took it as if that was it. The work was done.
I'll give you some examples of that. I mean, since I'm here.
Yes, ma'am.
So I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. One of the most beautiful things I said was going back home and seeing my people, seeing you guys, hearing you. There was nothing like it for me. I was sold. But then once regs began to roll out and self-interest began to come in play, and people wanting, I was being so targeted by funders, prospective licensees who thought I was a potential social equity applicant, to the point where it amounted to stalking. And then there was dissension and triangulation between the city, between the groups of people of color, and more affluent people of color. I saw affluent people of color who once was. I remember someone even saying to me, "You from Compton too?" Yeah, I would never go back there again. I'm not here for that. I'm here to get licensed. I'm here to make a change and take my money and my kids where I need to be. I saw a lot of energy that wasn't about community and reinvestment. And as the regs started playing out and we started hearing things about 30% going to children and youth programs, which I've kept my eye on for the last 7 years. And I have a lot to say about that under a separate cover with where that money is going. But
LAPD.
In addition
City's
to that,
pocket.
There was all this fluffy language like social responsibility of the business owners. And then I was brought to the table to talk about licensing social equity and the percentages if you sell, and all of the conditions around some of these groups that were targeting me and bringing me to the table to be a part of their pilot program of social equity applicants. That the real advocacy was around ownership. But for me, here I was with this property that I was told I had no choice but to get.
Because that was what the city said. You had to own property in order to get a license.
Plus leasing another property, doing everything by the book. And we talked about this and you were like, "Do you know how to grow shit?" And I was like, "No." But I could see half of the motherfuckers in the room don't know how to grow shit.
Yeah.
So I knew I wasn't the only one that was lacking in the skill set to grow, distribute. I knew that there was a steep learning curve as far as that. But what I didn't appreciate was the hiding the ball of what the standard and the qualifications would be, to the point where not only was I being sat, my entire family was vested in this. Not only was I losing everything, I then was manipulated into leasing my property to a prospective social equity applicant at the advice of certain people.
Just
And
you alone.
that person stayed 3 months on a 5-year lease and then didn't pay rent again.
Oh, wow.
And you can't even come after them.
And so there are no remedies. I cannot go. These are things that needed to have been said at the onset.
Yeah.
There should have been no one standing in my hometown of Watts telling me that you can't even get in here unless you buy a property and present yourself as a property owner. Then the ball switched with what qualifies you. So I'm like a geek, a report geek. So I read the initial report that was zoned with zip codes. I fell in the qualifications, except for being removed by force from my community and institutionalized. That shouldn't have been a barrier to my qualification. Any mother, any young adult who was targeted for drug sales, for cannabis, should have at some point been tiered for eligibility, very much like
Tier
the felons.
1.
I wasn't
Period.
even eligible.
Tier
That's why I
1,
got a
period.
personal agenda against all y'all.
No, that should have been tier 1, period.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been no ifs, ands, and buts about that.
Yep.
That should have fell into the tier 1 category. But see, this is where the problem comes in. Once DCR was created, right? Because DCR was created after the fact.
It was.
Once DCR was created and those, what I call puppets, were put into place, that's when everything started to become manipulated, begin to change. It didn't stay on the course and the spirit of what social equity should have been.
Yes.
And that's where everything began to go wrong.
Yes.
This is when the rules begin to change. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but over and over and over again.
Yes.
I'm talking about literally to the point where the people that social equity should have benefited, it ruled them out.
Yeah. I have another gripe about that in regards to I feel like everyone's clever. In reality, even, brother, I was there. Remember I called you when I was going through my court case. You told me what to do with my Prop D situation, and it got expunged because you were creating Measure M and all that. And my whole thing is this, though. I feel like the minute that social, well, let's say the minute that it went beyond the felons and it went into community is where we already lost.
Yeah.
Because I come from Burbank. I don't give a damn. I come from clever. I grew up around some very clever individuals, okay? I grew up around all the others. Whatever others you want to discuss, I grew up with all the others. I adapted the mentality. I adapted a lot of their ways. I grew up going to Glendale and places like this and seeing old ladies pull up in 750s, G-Wagons, and going to the social security offices and getting their food stamps or whatever. And they got brand new whips, $100,000, $200,000 cars. Then I see my minorities coming off the bus, pushing little, pushing their babies, and they're going into the social. I grew up seeing people who've been finessing the system. Yeah. I know how the system gets finessed on the next level because my community of people, that's what they really do. And they're the people who are finessing everybody in this game.
Absolutely.
Period. And I know that. And the minute it went further than felons, it was already ruined, because one thing the others don't have as much is people who went to jail.
Exactly.
But what the others have are implants in every one of our communities that they can claim are also low income.
Exactly.
So the moment you created this program to be low income and community based, the loopholes began.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course.
You understand what I'm saying? If they kept it real simple,
Yeah.
and it was for people like myself, people like yourself or yourself, people really went to jail real quick, really did something, leave it at that. Leave it at that. And you would see that it would have been way more minorities. It wouldn't have been so many of the others who you hear the last names, IAN, YAN, Lee, Stein, Ein, whatever the hell you want to say. I look at all these last names and they're others. Those others knew how to infiltrate the minute they created more things besides you being a felon and someone who got arrested for drugs or cannabis. The minute it went into everything else, fair game for everybody.
And I'm gonna tell you the biggest thing and about that, and Mickey, and then we'll get right back into what you were saying. Didn't even vet nobody.
No.
Come on, man. Let's talk about people who don't even have felonies that qualify for social equity.
We know a couple that got licenses.
How does that happen?
They forged it. They
Exactly.
even told us
A person
they
who
forged
got a license, people who got a license that didn't even live in the community.
Not even in the
Their
state.
uncle owned a business in our community, and they used that address to say that they grew up in this community.
And falsified that they got falsified.
But they vetted me, they vetted you, they vetted you, they vetted Donnie, rest in peace. You know, I even go back to his story because they made him go get his grade school records of the grade school that he went to prove. Now, everybody knew Donnie went to Crenshaw, grew up in L.A., and he grew up in the 60s. Come on. You can't get no more South Central than that. You feel me?
Yeah.
And you went and made this man go get his grade school record and made him go back to the 70s to get his electric bill. He had to go to DWP and get his electric bill to prove that the residence that he grew up in was in one of the impacted areas. But how many of those, like you said, others had to go do the same thing? Because they wasn't going to produce no school records.
No.
And they wasn't going to produce a DWP bill in a house that they lived in. Come on.
One of the frustrating things was, it wasn't DCR at the time, but what is now DCR. They were doing a lot of fanfare, private parties and think tank meetings and best approach. And, because I'm a good talker, right? Me and my daughter were really good talkers. And we usually know what we're talking about when we talk. So it's real nice having us, those black women in the room, right? Because it furthered the agenda.
Absolutely.
But when it came time to qualifications, like literally up until the night before, we were invited to everything. And you know me already. I don't like attending anything unless it's of substance.
Yes.
Yet the qualification process, DCR was right there walking me through. Yet everything I submitted wasn't good enough. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything I submitted,
I'm telling you.
they kicked back. Now, where were all these same big names that sat right next to me? Had all the support in the world for me. When my prospective applicant could no longer pay his rent, then where was the advocacy for me, who had always been at the table from the beginning?
To help you offset that expense that you're about to accrue.
Yes. Or
You know
where
what I'm
was
saying?
the reimbursement
Or reimbursement or something, yeah.
of any form or fashion of what she had to endure while going through the process that they told her to go through. Like that they gave her the rules that she followed.
Yeah.
Every last one of them rules. And then when it didn't happen, where's her reimbursement for that?
Yeah. Somebody needs to be overseeing them people heavily.
Yeah.
That's why I like the article that you sent earlier, brother, in regards to the people in Baldwin Park and somewhere else, where they just got the guys for taking $37,000 or something to push the article was to wasn't it like social equity on their end or something, or just licenses and in general.
Yes, and it was in general. Licenses in general. It was a article that came out where
like 12 hours yesterday or today or something.
Yeah, it says SoCal officials caught in cannabis bribery scandal.
And there's so many more. This is just the people who are caught. And my joke to you in the text was, if they're going after Diddy and they're going after Jay-Z, they need to go after the DCR.
Yeah, they do.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
No,
I'm not even
that's
playing.
where it is.
Yeah.
Because
If you going after my brothers, go after that group, because they screwing all of us.
Exactly. So, Mickey, my question is, once you follow all the rules, you got your piece of property, and then they told you no.
It was a whole long, drawn-out process of a lot going on, right? A lot going on. There was infighting.
A lot of it.
Amongst the social equity applicants became apparent. Now, mind you, I'm not an insider.
Yes.
I'm not skilled at this industry. I haven't been around since 2006. I haven't hung around Herrera. I haven't grown in Humboldt, right? I'm just this policy geek. I'm just this person from this inner city, and I feel like this fits. This is for me. This is what I should be doing. Yet there was no real inclusion. So there was no process of, here, let us provide you with knowledge and experience to jumpstart you,
Right.
to rectify this deficit as the infighting continued. And I would sit at the table oftentimes and know that there was more going on than I was even privy to.
Yeah.
And then seeing the rules change in real time and literally exclude me while I watched it include people that were not from where I was from.
Not at all. Not at all.
Then
And-
I saw the men and people who drew me in, right? The people that I walk with, stood up with, public comment with. I saw their voices not only being minimized,
Changed.
because see that alone, but then I saw an effort to defame them
Absolutely. Attack.
and attack them, and to try to use me and other people who were desiring licensing to target these
Absolutely.
established people who were speaking up for us.
Right.
And I'm glad that you brought this up, because this is something that, one, people like myself really understand and recognize. Being one of the leaders of the cannabis industry, it seemed like the more I tried to get done, the more the attacks came, right? I had white people telling me, man, you got your licenses, so why don't you just chill? They didn't want me to fight for social equity. They didn't want me to create social. They didn't even want social equity to exist. So here they are telling me to chill. Then I got people on this side telling me, man, you worried about everybody else, and you're not worried about this, and you're not worried about that. But I created the opportunity for you to get in. You here because that was what I fought for you to be here, to even be able to sit at the table and have a voice. And what Mickey said is the attacks came, and the attacks did come, and they minimized my voice. They minimized Donnie's voice. They made and brought out everybody else, and this is when
they
begin
minimized
to
the voice because they inserted the puppets.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? They inserted the new faces.
exactly, and those new faces.
And I already named
and
one
I'm gonna
earlier.
be honest with you, those new faces were both black and brown.
Yeah.
And they wanted
Yep.
those faces out there because they could control them
Yep.
They
and
can
control the narrative.
Yep.
They couldn't control this narrative.
And then they didn't.
Well, they
want
can't
you-
control self-made.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? They could control when they're making you.
Yeah.
And most of the people who they gave these licenses to, they're trying to make.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but
They
that's just
didn't
what it
want you
is,
to
because people like
inspire.
ourselves.
No.
They didn't want you to inspire and
Because I'm going to tell you something, Mickey, had I had my way to do it, everybody would have been sitting down at the table, and I'd have been teaching classes like I'm doing every first Saturday down in San Diego at San Diego City College with the contract by the county, teaching these people who are potential social equity. And this is real talk. Y'all could check my resume. Every first Saturday I'm down at San Diego City
But
College.
you know what's sad is that they have people
our social equity community had people like you, have people like me.
But never used us.
But they don't. They overlook.
Yeah.
And then they go hire some white consultant or some
Bourgeois.
white group that says they know this, they know that, and they use their strategies and just get raped. Our problem, man, is that they don't see our value. Our own don't see our own value, man.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been priceless. It would have. I mean, there was in the process of regs, in the process, let's say 2016 to 2018, there would have been no way you could have given back, say, to me what you knew. But there was significant resentment on my part because, like, I wanted him to sit down and show me these inner workings. Let me overcome this before I lose anymore. And unbeknownst to me, he's trying to save himself. And how this and he's trying to avoid also being targeted. And I would go and I would say, why is this happening to me? Tell me what is this?
Exactly. And so let me tell y'all what she mean by that. They took all 3 of my licenses for 1 year.
That was a 19, wasn't it?
I'm definitely, 19. I'm trying to say, like she said, I'm trying to save myself. Now I can't help people because I'm fighting for my life.
And then it was to the point where the people who were being pushed out front, I could see the shift. These were the same people who were claiming to be able to sell licenses before. So now I'm seeing these people now becoming like the secondhand voice in the city for DCR. And now the narrative of their story is sounding quite similar to mine. Father was a Black Panther. Grandparents had a church on 114th and Wilmington. Stepdads were lawyers and cops. Oh, that's my story. And all of a sudden I'm seeing this person, like literal major article, having the same narrative as myself, when this person had no narrative near that prior to that.
Exactly.
Then in addition to that, I had people fine dining me just to set this dude up.
I believe it.
I need to say that we're live.
No, we live.
Yeah.
Oh, we live. And people got to hear that.
Yeah, I need to say that because the thought was that I was being placed in such a vulnerable position and suffering such significant loss that I would barter my relationship with him. Because what couldn't be explained was why was he even helping her? Why was she even backing him or at the table? It seemed just because they're from the same place?
Right.
Well, yes. That was why.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've kind of stuck, he knows that. I'm a loyalist, so I stuck to that, my people first. And honestly, I feel like that's why I lost everything. If I had taken the route
played their game, you would have benefited from playing their game.
It was the game.
Yeah.
So if I had been disloyal, if I had taken that path, I know I would have been licensed because I witnessed people become. Do it. Well, I've sat in the room with these people that should not be licensed, and who chose the path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another thing that you were saying about being vetted and some of us not being able to teach you what you needed to know. You know, the main fault is the group that was assigned to even overlook cannabis. I don't understand how you even put together a group that has no knowledge of it. Because if it was a group of people who love cannabis, have knowledge of cannabis, have experience in cannabis, then we would already know what to give the people, the information that you need. You can't get information from people who don't have information.
Well, that was how I lost my property.
You see what I'm saying?
That was how I ended up with a tenant that couldn't pay the rent because his tenant was a client of theirs who was being promoted as now the foremost in social equity, when I knew I'd been at the table all along, and I knew that these particular people had played a different role at a different time.
Yeah.
So now seeing this shift and these people being ushered through the process, and even in the scandal of the process of the system and the licensing and all of that, for me, just boded to a smoke screen of what was to come.
Yeah.
That the people who had been at the forefront and the foremost would not be licensed.
Yeah.
And the confusion would grant those who knew they weren't qualified. This was their hustle. This was their hustle to get in.
Hence why the first 100 licenses issued in the social equity program did not go to maybe one of us, two of us at best.
Yep.
And I interviewed with maybe
one or two of us at best.
3 or 4 people who were non-black people who interviewed me as if I was going to be employed by them. It didn't matter of fact, it was unattractive that I had my own property and that I knew the regs. That was a turnoff.
Yeah, they wanted you to be dumb as a box of rocks, and they wanted you to come in so they could take advantage of you. They could rape and pillage your business. They could debt you like to the 9th degree, and then basically have you submit at the end of the after the end of all of what they done to say, I give up. Give me a couple of bucks, pennies on a dollar. Take this thing and let me go.
Yeah.
Because that has been the whole ideology of all of these people who have come into the cannabis industry, the same very people that Marco talked about, come into the cannabis industry. If they couldn't finagle to get their own license, they was going to find a Negro or a Latino, and they was going to make sure that they put them in the worst position possible to take advantage of them, that they would just say, I give.
Yeah.
Take this thing, give me a few dollars, let me get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
And that's what you ended up seeing time after time after time in the cannabis industry, to now where you don't even have any black people in the industry that are owners and operators.
Yeah. It's
Like
it's
true
we had to
owners
link
and
up with an
operators.
investor.
Where are they?
Yeah, it's either we had to link up with an investor that didn't have our best interest in heart, or spend all of our money to just be on a life support.
I know two Latinos right now that own social equity licenses and have been able to manage on their own, basically. I know one Latino brother I met at the when we were at our hearing. He had his hearing on the same day I had my hearing. Him and a brother partnered together. They got the shop over there on Florence. And then
Is it
there's
Verde? My people Verde, Renee.
come on, man.
My dog Renee. You know what's up, Renee? Shout out to Verde. I help my people out a lot over
the
there.
brother
too.
over there,
and him and his brother and his daughter. And,
yeah, and yeah, man. And then you got the little young SA cat over there on Crenshaw, off of Crenshaw and Obama.
And Obama.
And he
That's
started
the new store that just opened.
Shoestrapped it, and was able to make it.
See what I'm saying?
Two
Two.
Latinos
That's what
that actually physically own their own shit and ain't took no money from nobody else. All the rest of them been bought and sold.
They've been bought.
Blacks, only 2 left. 3 left. That really between
Like,
Madison.
own they shit.
No, that don't own their shit.
Yeah, because
Between Madison, Kika, and the brother over there on the corner of Martin Luther King and Crenshaw, don't none of them own their shit.
Though. Yeah, they don't own nothing.
You see what I'm saying?
And they don't know nothing. I hate to
Exactly.
say it, but y'all didn't know nothing.
But you look at what the ownership is of us in the cannabis industry, and we far few and in between. How did a social equity program that was supposed to help the community, that it ravished, the community that it harmed by the field war on drugs, bring in a program that turned around and basically harmed those people that were harmed by the field war on drugs?
And that's because of the puppets. The puppets that were in the committee with them.
Yeah.
These people knew what was going on. These
Let me
people
go
we just
even
named.
further than that. Not just the puppets, but the politicians that were also being influenced by the dollars. So let's keep it real.
Yep.
Let's talk about the people who worked in DCR, who were influenced by the dollars because the bribes came in, the money started changing hands, the bags were going around. All of this stuff was going down. See, the reason why I was on full on enemy is because I wasn't taking no bribes.
Right.
Couldn't nobody come to me and give me $1 about anything because I have my own money. So I didn't need nothing from anybody. What I wanted to do do was see a very successful program, and I wasn't going to compromise, and they knew I was a straight up dude. I came from a hustle. They knew how I got it.
Yeah.
But they know once I got it, I'm going to keep my shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And you're unique because people that got to understand your stores are all micro businesses. Yeah. You know, a lot of people who expand and have multiple businesses, most don't even have one micro business.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So the envy is for just even that, you know, is serious. And at one point you had like 5.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So, you know.
I think what can't be lost is the premise and ideal behind the spirit of social equity was to influence intergenerations, to act as a process for healing by way of independence, autonomy, entrepreneurship, and success that you could hand down, right? And that in itself, that all of you coming from where you came from, all of us coming from where we came from, would influence the targeting of us in communities again, right? Because we're going to empower our community to be fortified in a way that they will have beacons of entrepreneurship, beacons of a hustle and grind turn, you know what I'm saying, upscale.
Which in return, they become targets.
Yeah. Yes. So if you think about that, idealize that was the purpose, there was no way that was going to be allowed to happen, because who would you be? You wouldn't need a title or a leadership role. Yeah. You would simply influence by way of your walk in life, right? Because I'm watching you, I'm looking to you. Young people are then going to look to you. So that has been circumvented, right? Because the people have been put in place to model as the ideal social equity applicant. Where is the evidence that they are performing social responsibilities and giving back? I've seen the pictures on the wall.
I've seen all articles and all this and the that and the this and the third.
This
ain't doing nothing.
This makes me realize. Remember why I didn't understand why I had got kicked out of jail. So I ended up in jail for running a dispensary without a license, right? And while I was in there, I got kicked out because I was a beacon of education. I was educating women in there. There was women that were asking me, how can someone like me, which I'm like you, how can I? And I was like, you can, you do. I was kicked out of jail. I was supposed to serve 6 months, and after 6 days, at 10 p.m., they had me sign a waiver that if I got picked up, I can go home. But if I didn't get picked up, I would finish my sentence by myself because I was too social. And I didn't understand, but you just made me realize.
Influential.
Yeah.
So to me, when I receive rejection in that level, then I know you are afraid of my voice. Yeah. You should be.
Yeah. And I would come in and I would smile, and, you know, one officer was like, why are you so happy? I said, because God is good. He almost punched me. Yeah. You know, and if you're positive when you're in an area that's supposed to break you down, is supposed to make you want to ask the government for things. I was in there speaking and giving people hope. That's not who they wanted in there. Now I understand it.
Now go back and look at all of me and my daughter's public comment, both at state hearings and local hearings. Yeah. There was no one else sounding like we were.
And they don't
Absolutely
want
not.
And saying the things that we were saying. And so I think that's what we're facing now, right? For me, it's always solution-based. So I bugged him all week about what's the purpose of this? What do you need me? Because I don't normally talk publicly.
Yeah, but you know what? That when you say that, and I think back to that, you were the only voice. And your daughter was the only voice at the time that was a female speaking out in the fashion that you spoke. And so it was against what was going on in the direction that it was going in. And at some point in time, like me, they wanted to quiet that down.
Now, mind you, I'm this goody girl, right, who got separated from her city, was told to do right, live right, Don't be hanging out with them bad people over there. Stay in the valley. Get your education. Raise your children. You know, stay away from that place over there. You know, I wasn't supposed to come back. Right.
No.
And so
They don't want you to
for not
inspire.
only me to come back, I brought all my kids to the meetings. He'll tell you. I even brought my grandson. I didn't bring him because I said, oh, watch me become a success. I said, watch him. Watch these men. Watch them get up and stand and speak. All this fear and hatred behind them, because you could feel the energy when you guys would get up and
It was
speak,
haters.
Yeah.
They
right?
was thick.
Yeah.
I said, what you're seeing is the equivalent of a revolution.
Yeah.
You're hearing the voice of the masses through these men. It's something to behold. So in spite of all of the loss, I will never regret that, the experience I had watching you guys. And I'm hoping at some point we can get back to what the true purpose was for social equity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We will.
And I don't have a path or a direction in that direction, and if my voice can influence in any way. Because honestly, after 2020, after selling, I don't remember, it was 2020, whatever it was, after just letting go altogether, anything to do with the industry terrified me.
A lot of
Being a
people think like
Capricorn, I'm a little bit pessimistic, naturally. So, the industry sucks. I really don't know how else to put it, because again, some of us been around before all this crap, and in reality, I have my own personal beliefs. Some people like to say, you know, black people weren't involved in the game, women weren't involved in the game. I'm sorry to say it. Everybody
were.
was in the game.
Yeah.
They was in the
Everybody
game.
was in the
We were.
game. My homegirls are the ones giving me the most connections. My homegirls are the ones with the most dudes that wanted to buy shit from them. Like the same amount of guys that want to date a girl is the same amount of clients that girl has. So therefore, that girl was the plug. All my
Exactly.
homegirls were the plug, because every dude that wanted to get with them was a buyer or something. Same thing with blacks. I look at it like this. Before social equity, before this recreational crap, it was fair game.
Yeah.
You needed, if you knew how to have a little bit of money, and you knew where to get, and you knew where to go to the city and sign up for a license that you need, and you knew how to go get a lease, and you knew how to just get product and price it, and you knew how to have good customer service, you do good business. There was more
Absolutely.
black people with more black cannabis businesses then,
Yeah,
even though
there
you
was.
may not have known about it,
Yep.
because you couldn't talk about it. But there was
Exactly.
more black owners then than there is now.
now.
Yeah.
There was more black owners making money then than there is
is
now.
now.
Social
Absolutely.
equity, all that shit is garbage. It has made our playing field uneven.
Even.
Yeah.
It was
For
always
us.
even. Even if people like me were targeted first because you find out this black dude's behind it, so my store maybe went down before another person. But guess what? I got another store.
Exactly.
And I'm back in the game, making my bread over again. Ever since this stuff started having licenses and the social equity, that's why I say screw all that. I hate the language. Language is whack. Language separates too much.
Yeah,
I hate
exactly.
language.
Yeah.
Like, just let it be.
Yeah.
Why
So-
can't I just sell my goddamn strawberries like everybody else?
Right
Language sucks. Language is what creates loopholes.
Also, look at what they did with the metric system. Ever since the metric system came into the industry, that also caused major losses. And
Exactly.
you don't need the metric system to sell cannabis. On the contrary, I believe that we're losing more from the plant because you have to dispose of it after a year.
Yeah.
Where we've talked about
Where you know
Exactly.
it has benefits, as wine does. It ages. It ages, and like you said, it goes up in
Yes.
CBN. There are
Exactly.
benefits. There's things that we need to educate people, but we have these rules because
That we
of
have to follow.
language.
And we
I
have
hate-
these rules because of idiots that came in and approached the elected officials, the
Yes.
state officials, and
That
these
thought they were
officials
doing good.
and said, I'm an expert at this, and they don't know dick. And now they have been put in position to make these rules for us. And these clowns ain't did nothing,
Nothing.
close to what we've done. So as we wrap this session up, because, man, this was great.
Thank you. You brought a lot of passion out of some of us today.
Hey, Mickey,
I do
we need
that.
to have you on this show a lot more because,
I
hey, this was
agree. 'Cause it's
probably
personal,
our
it's
best
personal.
run right here.
It's personal.
So as we close out this session, man, I just need to hear something from you, Marco, first. Give me just a little something. Give me a short 30 seconds or something good or what you want to say about social equity and about this industry.
Yeah, about basically my little 30 seconds is this. I want to go back to the past. That's what I want to do. The future sucks and the present sucks. Let's go back to the past where everything is even and let's see who really could get the money.
Right on. Ruby?
I just want to tell people, educate yourself, because the less education and the less knowledge you have, the easier it is to manipulate you and make you believe that this isn't for you. It's for all of us. And if we all just came together, we would make shit happen. One of the things I remember when we would go up there and speak, and it stays with me, is they said, how many people are out here fighting for social equity with you? It was like 10 of us in the room.
10 of us in the room.
It made me feel, stupid. So I always say, educate yourself and ask questions.
Yeah. Absolutely. Mickey?
They may not license me, but they can't silence me.
Oh,
That's right.
That.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
You hit us with a
That's
quote. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, as we close it out, your boy here who has just, this has been an amazing evening. Let me start with saying that we've had an amazing guest. Mickey, thank you.
Yes,
thank you for coming on our show.
And sharing.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for bringing a different perspective, education. Y'all wasn't ready for this one. Y'all was not ready for this one here. Hey, tune in to Token Tuesday. Go down there and click the subscribe button. And, hey, check in with us next Tuesday. We going to see y'all. Until then, thank you for tuning in to Token Tuesday. We out.
Token Tuesday, it's what we do. We just sit around, smoke a pound, and talk about what we do.